Welcome to Underdog Talk, where I have conversations with successful underdogs. And today is no other different than no other day. Today I have Miss Brandy Nicole. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm not sick anymore. I was sick all for Christmas, and it sucked.
How bad?
My mama cooked me her dressing. I didn't really eat it like that. This was bad. I was the Grinch.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, yeah, that sucks. So, when I start off with my guests, I do a fun fact.
Okay.
So, a fun fact about you.
Ooh, a fun fact about me. I gotta think about that one.
Hmm.
Um, I guess I don't know if it's fun, but I don't know how to swim, and I want to learn this year. So it's more of just a personal thing that I want to get through. I don't know how to swim, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you gotta
learn.
push the mic closer to you.
Oh, I'm gonna learn this year.
Okay.
Hopefully.
I know how to swim enough not to drown.
Right.
Oh, fun fact about me. My dad, my biological dad, when he was younger, he could swim in the Lake Michigan, like or on one side of it where it's like 100 feet deep. He like went down in there. Yeah, I don't know about. I don't know.
Nope.
Not
Not
me.
me.
Not a
Mm-mm.
part. Not nothing.
No.
So you do a lot. I see
Yeah.
your bio and you do a lot, and you got a book. Is it launched or is it? It's out yet?
It is.
And I think it's where's it ranked? It was 14 last time I saw.
So I got to seven. I don't know
Seven.
where it is now,
Okay.
but I got to seven. So that's a win for me. That's a
So
win.
you're an author, entrepreneur, mom, you a wife, a
Absolutely.
wife. You got all these things going. But who was Brandy Nicole before all this happened?
Woo. Before all of this, so even before mom.
Yeah, before mom. Like what was life like for you? What was going on?
Well, I had my first child at 20. So I guess before that, I was just a college student trying to figure it out. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So at that time, before I had my son, I was going to IU. I went to
Hmm.
IU Bloomington and I went to IU downtown. So just trying to figure it out. At that time, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I did probation for a little while and then quickly turned my passion to not want to do criminal justice at all. So, yeah, I just was a student and wanted education. That was it. That was
So
all on my mind.
did you have? It sounded like you kind of had like the idea of what you wanted to do, and then you went and you was like, no. So once that changed, how was like, were you the partying type? Were you the I'm going to class, I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to, or were you the type that you could go hang out and still get your work done?
I think I did a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
More so, more so in my books. I wasn't at IU Bloom long enough
Mm-hmm.
to really get into the party life.
Yeah, that's a
So
movie.
so once I transferred to IUPUI, I just was kind of in my books, and then I got pregnant my sophomore year. So it just kind of went fast, and then it was like, oh, well, we're gonna be having a baby while we're going to college. You know what I mean? So
You wasn't
yeah,
always in the books because you had a baby. So I
I
don't know.
was always in the books.
No, no, like you said, you was in the books, but then you had a child, so
I did.
you wasn't in the books. You wasn't in the books the whole time.
Oh my
So
goodness.
being in college, having a child,
Yes.
my children's mom, that happened to her. She was 20, had her daughter. She not biologically mine, so that's why I say her because I wasn't in the streets fast and early.
I understand.
But I remember her having to leave school, change, go home, have the baby, then go to school somewhere else. So I was that being a young parent and being a college student.
So I would be a fool to say it wasn't challenging,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a lot of support.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband now, we've been together since then. So going on 19 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But we had support. Our parents. I had aunts, uncles, cousins. So although it was challenging to get through the work,
Mm-hmm.
we had the support. So I never was the one who didn't have a sitter or couldn't find somebody to help, watch him and things of that nature. And then of course he was just always in daycare. So it was challenging just because it was new. It was unfamiliar territory.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't do it. I mean, you can do anything as long as you put your mind to it. So that's just what I had to do.
That's true. That's true. So you have your first child, you're going through school, you finish school.
Mhm.
What's the next step? What is life like?
So I worked for the state
Hmm.
right after that, maybe 3 years after college. I worked for the state. I actually worked for the BMV
Hmm.
for quite a while, for almost 7 years. Quickly advanced in that role. So started out just as customer service, and I'm just getting a job, just something
Hmm.
collegiate. I got my, degree. I just want something that looks professional on my resume. So I went to work for the state, and I didn't think I would be there that long. So I went from customer service, and then I gradually, just quickly, just became in management. So they saw something in me that I didn't know I had in myself, and went through a rigorous training program just like that. Was a manager in training, and then after a year, I was a full-blown branch manager. So running some of the biggest branches in the city. On the Far East Side, Lawrence branch, I ran the Noblesville branch for most of my tenure, and it was a challenging position, being a young black woman. So you're thinking I'm in my early 20s when I got this role. So I got into leadership quickly and had to adjust to different types of clients, different types of customers, especially working for government. It just wasn't easy. But I made it. I made it through, and that's kind of where I started my leadership and management journey for the BMV. And then as I got tired of that and wanting to utilize my criminal justice degree, that's when I went for, worked for probation.
You
And
was a snitch.
was not a snitch, but quickly found out that that wasn't for me. So I went back to school and got my master's. So I ended up getting my master's and getting that in human resource management. So then I worked in corporate America doing HR work for a while.
Um, you did a lot. You was moved around and tried to figure it out,
Yep.
which a lot of us do. So just thinking about the Taji Henson video where she says, like the black woman is underappreciated, underpaid, and all that. In your role in management, do you feel that way as a black woman being in management, and then you were young too?
So back then, you really didn't know. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? You're like, Shh, I just got out of college, I'm making a good 17, $18 an hour, or whatever it was. Yeah, back then, you didn't really think that,
Hmm.
but now going through and thinking about all of the struggles that I had and all of the, that people doubted me while in that position. I went through a lot being in Hamilton County, just,
Hmm.
being transparent with white folks.
Yeah.
Being in that type of role, they would look at me like, "Are you sure you're the manager? Are you sure you're the only person I could talk to?" So I more so thought I didn't get paid enough to deal with that type of stuff.
Hmm.
Not necessarily just being a black woman in management, but as time went on, absolutely, I knew that I deserved more. I should have had more having a degree, but back then you wouldn't have really, really thought that until later on. So it didn't really click until after I left there. Like, man, I did a lot for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's true in a lot of people's jobs. Like you don't realize until you go across the street somewhere else and you're like, oh, hey, y'all treat us like this over here. Over there,
Right.
they wouldn't. Y'all pay over. Y'all got incentives. They got
Right.
this, and you don't know until you don't know until you go somewhere else and figure it out. So
Mhm.
I like that you're able to go back and think about it because now just hearing her say that we're all looking at the outside looking in like, oh, you making all this money, you on this movie, but then people don't understand what goes on behind the scenes of that. So in your role when you did probation, did you feel that way as a black woman?
Woo. Yeah. Instantly knew that that wasn't enough money for what you had to go through. But you have to think when you're working for the government. I mean, it's not for the money, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how government works. You're not
Yeah.
going into government for the money, so it's truly about the passion. And at that time, that's what I thought. That's what I thought I wanted. I wanted to help people get back into reentry. So hence the criminal justice degree. But just with time, I realized that's not really the direction I wanted to go. I still wanted to help people, but in a different manner. So yeah, I mean, just working for government, you have to almost just be prepared not to make, enough. I think now it's better. We're talking 10, 12 years ago, so it's definitely better now. But even back then, yeah, should have definitely been making more for sure.
So you kind of find what you want to do, and Do you have another kid yet in this process?
Yes. So when I was getting my master's, I had my second child.
Your second child.
So same situation. I was in undergrad and got pregnant my sophomore year when I was getting my bachelor's degree.
You just
And
like
then,
babies in sophomore
I
year.
guess, I guess.
Don't go back to school that sophomore
And then
year.
in grad school, I had my second boy. Yep, during that time, but finished with no problem.
So
You know?
was it sophomore year in grad school too?
So no, because grad school was more like an
Oh,
accelerated
it's not,
program. It was
yeah.
only 18 months, so
Oh, okay.
it was
So
just like smack dab in the middle of that
so basically
program.
sophomore year. Okay, I was just checking. I was just trying to figure it out.
You trying to figure it out?
Yeah.
You trying to see my little pattern?
And when did you get married in that process?
So that was well after school. I got married 7 years ago. So I've been married for 7 years.
Okay, so it's later. It's you doing more of the y'all just was together, but now you're doing more of the entrepreneur and all that stuff.
Yes. Yes. So I was working in corporate America. I did HR management for several years.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point during that time, I'm like, you know what? I just don't want to work anymore for someone,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want to work. I'm going to
Yeah.
always work, but I want to work for myself. So I went through a lot within my HR roles. Again, just being a Black woman in leadership. I worked for a company that I was the only Black face, man or woman. I was the only Black face. And I tolerated a lot of things that I didn't ever think that I would as a Black woman in leadership. So I had to go through, just males being my bosses and not really wanting to look at me for answers or not allowing me to do what I was hired to do. So when you're in HR or human resource management, you're supposed to follow laws and give those laws and, have those be abided by in the company. But certain companies that I worked for, I just didn't get that opportunity. It was almost like they just needed that face to meet a quota or, to meet something that they needed to meet. And so I tolerated things for a long time. And then I just got to a point where I didn't want to tolerate them no more. And I actually got fired. That was the first time I had ever been terminated. I went through a period of depression and just mad at the world when that happened because I was like, I'm usually in a position where I'm terminated, right? Where I'm getting rid of folks. And to have that happen, and I don't even talk about it often, and I do a lot of interviews and speaking and all of that, but this is not one thing that I talk about a lot. But going through that role and experiencing what I had to experience and actually getting terminated afterwards, it gave me the drive that I needed to know that's not going to ever happen again. I'm never going to be in a position where anybody can let me go because I'm going to own my own. So that's when I started the travel agency. So I started Love for Traveling back in 2017. And I was kind of doing it while I was working. So it was kind of a part time entrepreneurship job, so to speak. And then after I got terminated, I was like, I'm just going to do this full time. So I just went full throttle and, started booking those trips and gaining my clientele. And I did that for 3 years prior to opening Living in the Moment Events, which was my second endeavor in full time entrepreneurship. So I opened up the event center then.
I love it. I love that you didn't let the firing stop you. And I was kind of the same way. I got fired just when I first started like speaking. So I was missing because I was going to speak. I'm like, I don't worry about this job. It was a call center job. I hated it anyways. So they let me go, and then that's how I got the job in the school. And I've been in the schools, working in the school system ever since. And it's just like if I would have never got fired, I would have never got that job. And some of the stuff I would have never done, or the connections and different things of that sort. So sometimes people look at a loss as a bad thing, but you got to lose before you win. Because if you don't, then you don't know how to win because you ain't never took a loss. So if adversity comes, you're not gonna know how to, deal with it. So I like that you didn't, and you was like, oh yeah, ain't nobody gonna fire me no more. I'm gonna be hired all the time because I'm gonna have my own. So you say you got the event center, and then what was the first?
It's a full service travel.
Oh, travel agent.
Yeah.
So do you get to go travel?
I do.
So you get paid to go travel?
Not necessarily paid to go travel. So I go on trips where I'm able to observe the resorts and look at resorts and be able to bring that back to my clients. You know what I mean? So not necessarily paid to travel. Believe me, I pay for my travel. Okay. A lot of people think travel agents get to go travel all the world for free. We do not. So we pay for our travel as well. But I have a nice book of business. I'm going on 7th year in only Love for Travel, and I just have a lot of clients. I send them around the world. I educate them first, though. So that's the difference between myself and other travel agencies. I educate them. So a lot of my clients, probably over 65% of my clients are first time travelers, especially out of the country. So we go through, where do I get a passport? I mean, just as simple as that. Go to the post office and get a passport. Learning, where can you utilize your passport? Where can you go that doesn't require a passport? So I spend a lot of my time educating my clients and then booking their travel. So, just that planning experience from A to Z, being able to say, okay, well, these are your options. This is within your budget. This is what you can do there. So I go through a lot of steps before we actually get that deposit. So I pride myself in being able to educate my people, not just sending them and saying, hey, here you go. You can do that online. Yeah. So I never have to compete with Expedia. I never have to compete with Orbitz because they are nothing like me. You're going to literally get a personal concierge when you're working with me or my team. So I started the travel agency just as a passion for helping other people. When I came from corporate, that's what I was doing. I got into human resources to be able to help employees. So I don't know what came over me one day to start this travel agency, but I always used the travel agent when I was booking my own travel. And I was like, this is kind of neat, because I like the experience that I was receiving. So the one that was actually booking my travel trained me. She was like, this is how you do it. And so I went through like a training program, and then I started my own up in the next year and been going ever since. And then after that, I wanted to just do more with it, so I was doing a lot of destination weddings. The third and fourth year, I got into a lot of weddings and planning trips for people that's looking to go and have a wedding or a honeymoon. So I started doing some local weddings. People were like, I see you doing it, in different states and different countries. Can you do it locally? And I really never had a desire to do it locally, but I was like, why not? So it was almost like right smack dead in the middle of COVID. And I was decorating at people's houses and planning their weddings. And I was like, this is too much. I got to open up something. So I started looking for space. I got a commercial realtor and I was like, look, this is what I'm looking for. I don't want something too small, but I don't want it to be too big. And I was like, I want people to be able to come safely because, again, this is during COVID. And I want to be able to house them under one roof without me having to continue to go all over the place. So, long story short, got a realtor, found the perfect building off of 71st and Benford, opened it up, and we're going on 3 years. So, we're a full service travel agency and event planning agency all under one roof.
I love it. And I love how you broke it all down because you got people that, oh, I'm a travel agent. You could be like me and you get this and all that. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. I'm just not into that. I don't know. That's just not me. Oh, you join my group and we do this and this. And it's like, I already got, I got a whole life. I don't think I can do nothing.
So that's extra. What we call a MLM, multi-level marketing. So those are different. Oh, okay. I don't bash those, but those are different. That's a different type of setup, a different type of structure. I'm an independently owned travel agency, so I tell people to consider me like a AAA. You know what I mean? But I'm a small business, obviously, so I don't have as large a team as them, but it's the same type of service. So I'm not looking to, hey, you join and you do this. I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to service our customers. So do I have people on my team? I do, but we're all doing the same thing. Our goal is to help you plan the vacation of your dreams.
Yeah, I need a vacation. I don't know why you laughing, but I'm so serious.
I believe you. Like, we all do.
I haven't went nowhere since COVID. Yeah. And I've been working my ass off since COVID. And it's like, I need a break. Yeah. And I don't know where I want to go, but I told myself this year I'm going somewhere by myself, either before my birthday, which is in May, or on my birthday. Oh, you're a Taurus?
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
May 1st.
May 7th. So you're May. You just, I don't know. You kind of just made it.
I just made it.
You just made it May. It's,
believe me, I'm a full-blown Taurus.
Yeah, but there's different Taurus.
There is different Taurus. But I'm a full-blown Taurus.
Yeah, me too. And I never really got it. I mean, I know what a Taurus is, but I don't know nobody else's stuff. But then when you really look at it, you be like, dang, this is a little bit true. And then you find another Taurus, you be like, oh, we cool. That's why we act that way, because I could, cut somebody off. I did a lot of deleting messages and people's stuff because ain't no point. You got a 2-week trial with me. If I get for real, if I get the number, it could be any contact. Like if I ain't talk to you, or if I feel the connection ain't there, I'm gonna delete your number because I'm like, well, in 2 weeks I ain't really heard from you.
Right.
So what's gonna change next week?
Right.
So I love that you got the event space because I Nehemiah Davis. That's what he kind of does. He's on social media. He's like an influencer. But I remember I was looking into it and seeing like how I could get a space to have events because I'd be wanting to do live shows or maybe go speak or just do different stuff.
Right.
But having your own space is cool. So when you first started, how did that go? Because I know the travel, that probably went smooth. You gave us the steps of what you wanted to do each year, so you knew what to research, how to make it better. But when you got your own event space and it's just you and your people, how did that go? Like your what you say you're in year 3, so your first year, how did that first year go?
So it actually went better than I ever had imagined. I guess just kind of having the foundation from the travel, like so many people knew me from, oh, you're the travel lady, you're the travel lady. So just from curating those experiences, it kind of just tied hand in hand into open living in the moment. I thought I mean, not to say that it's not challenging. It was. It was very challenging because I had to do a total reconstruction. So I had moved into a space that used to be a framing store. So when I went into it, I had to do flooring, I had to do the chandeliers, I had to paint, I had to make it its own. I had to build out the bridal suite like it was nothing. So I was like, wow, I'm doing this. You know what I mean? So it was a challenge just to get it the way that I wanted it. But once we got open, I mean, we went full throttle with advertising and getting the folks in there. So I can't really say that that part was a challenge. I would say the second year was harder than the first year because the first year you got all the buzz and the hype and everybody's proud of you and super excited. Yeah. Second year is like, oh, okay. Now, how much did she say it was? So that's when it became a little bit more of a challenge for me because it was like, how do we keep these customers coming? What sets me apart? Why are they not going to the event center down the street? Why are they not going to the event center across the street? So I'm in an area where there's like 4 event centers at this time. So you have to start figuring out what's going to set you apart, what's going to make them want to book with you. So that's where I started finding the challenges at and trying to rework my program to make sure that I stood out. But nobody can be Brandy Nicole. So that's what I started holding on to. Nobody can give the service that I'm giving. You may have a space, it may fit the same amount of people as me, you may have the same tables and chairs as me, but you don't have the service that I have because you're not me. So I focused on that to be able to tailor my clients' experiences in travel and do the same thing within the event center. So I kept the same mindset. But the first year actually was not that bad. Now we're going into the third year, and I feel like anything with entrepreneurship, it takes a good 5 years before you really like, okay, I kind of got this down pat. So you always gonna have those curves, learning curves. New people come in, you get a new experience. New people gonna test you. So it's just about remaining professional and dealing with each situation as they come. So that's kind of where I'm at.
No, I love it how you said it was the second year because the buzz then went away. Everybody like, oh, okay, yeah, girl, that's cute. That was cute last year. Exactly. Oh, and then when they try to come back, after like, oh, you ain't giving out them discount. You ain't giving out them. Nah, you gotta pay like you gonna pay across the street. Right. And one thing I keep hearing you say is figure out what you do better than everybody else. Your service is better than the people next door and they do the same thing as you. And then you said nobody can be you. I think a lot of people don't realize being you is great. Being you is the most beautiful thing on earth because there's nobody else like you. Even if you're a twin, there's nobody else like you. And with social media and the world we live in, everybody's like, oh, I want to be like this, or I want to do like this. Or if you dress a certain way, or if you wear something, or you say something, it's like, oh, what's wrong with that person? Nothing. I'm being me. Mm-hmm. Like I learned that, like, I would say maybe when I turned like 30 and I started speaking, I'm like, I'm Eric. Like, can't nobody beat Eric. Even if I go speak or if I do something to somebody else and it could be a person up there, they still not going to do it like me. And you have to have that confidence in yourself to be able to go in the rooms or go into business and say, this is my shit and we going to run it because we know what we doing over here. Because sometimes you get, like you said, people, they start and, oh, the first couple years ain't nothing and then they stop. Yep. You never know what it could have been. Because if you stop one thing, you're going to stop another thing. Yeah. And that's why I'm rocking and rolling with this podcast because it's like I told myself I'm going to commit to one thing. 2000, what year is this? 2024. 24. So it was 2000 and 22, I was like, I'm gonna commit to the podcast, and ever since I said that, I've been committing to it, and it's becoming like a lifestyle. So that's one thing that people should take away from what you just said. Be yourself and figure out what you do different than everybody else. You just gotta. It's something. God gave you a gift to do that. So in that process, you get married. How is balancing being married and an entrepreneur with being a mom?
Well, I consider myself superwoman at times. So um, it's just, I mean, that's what it is. It's finding the balance, finding the time to not overwork yourself in any of the areas. So I was with my husband for so long before we even got married that it was kind of like, okay, you know what's going on here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I can't, I mean, of course, there are challenges with anything. There are challenges within relationships, there are challenges within marriage, whatever the case may be. But I feel like you have to set aside time to make sure that you are organized. Make sure that you're doing what makes sense. I prioritize what needs to be done. So if that may mean go home, cook dinner, tend to my family, and oftentimes I may have to go back to the venue. And that's just what I have to do. So there are always long nights for me. There is no, you know, a lot of people say they want to get out of their 9 to 5 because they work 40 hours. Honey, I've worked double that every single week, like literally. So it is not a time where it's like, oh, I don't have to do anything. No, I'm always doing something because I do other things outside of traveling and living in the moment as well. So I have a lot to balance, you know, with my coaching clients. I do HR consulting, I do notary work. I mean, there are several things that I do. So you have to just be, for one, you got to be organized. If you're not working, listen, honey, I carry around this calendar and I got one in my phone. So you have to remain organized and then figure out how to make those things work for you in your schedule. But when I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation, right? So I mean that means I'm not looking at a book, I'm not looking at my phone, I'm on vacation. So I think it's just one of those things. As you get older, you'll find the balance. You'll figure it out. I just had to figure it out. So every day I have to figure it out. I don't, tend to. Sometimes I'll try to plan out my day, but it's hard for me to plan out my week. I mean, I may
Mm-hmm.
have some events that are scheduled and meetings and things like that that are scheduled, but other than that, sometimes it's a day by day thing because I'm like, okay, this just popped up, so now I got to move this around. But as far as my kids and my husband, my children are older now. I have a 16-year-old. So, he kind of does his own thing anyway. So before I was an entrepreneur, I was able to kind of get out some of those things that I used to do with him. And now he just kind of doesn't even want to be bothered with me. So, but my 8-year-old, he's still kind of in that stage where it's like, mommy, so I just got to make that time. I carve out time for my kids every single day. You just got to find the balance and figure out what works for you and your family.
I love the calendar thing because I just downloaded the Google Calendar because it's different than the regular calendar that come with the phone, so I can see every single thing because I miss stuff because I'm not organized.
Gotta be.
I know,
Gotta
and
be.
and I can tell that was reason for missing out on stuff or not checking my email and seeing different stuff. But yeah, the balance is like you said, you got to make sure you know not to overwork yourself. Because I'm on winter break because I work in schools. But that first week, God said, my body said, hey, sit down. You're gonna be sick. You gotta sit down because I don't know how to sit down. I'm
Right.
on the go. I had like 5 interviews to do while I was in my hometown. I'm like, oh, I'm geek. And first day get there. Nope, you gonna sit down the whole time you're here. Because if you don't, that balance, like you said, if you don't make sure you're taking care of yourself, then at some point your body gonna let you know you gotta go sit down. And I actually was on vacation. Like I've been binge watching shows and chilling, but I still understand I still got stuff to get done. So I can't just be on vacation and not do nothing. Because if I don't, then I'll be behind. So I like that part of the balance. And then I got an 18-year-old, so I know the teenage. Mm, yeah, she in college.
I'm almost
So
there.
yeah, and then I got a 9-year-old, and he just now getting into the he in fourth grade. He always liked girls, but he kind of more into girls, and he getting into basketball more. Like he's actually taking it serious. So it's funny seeing one's already here, about to be grown. The conversation's different somewhat, but then you got the other one,
Yeah.
and he's a mama's boy, so
Yeah.
It don't work out for me sometimes. Yeah, it's not funny at all. It's not funny.
It is.
No, because we're not, me and his mom are not together, so
Mm-hmm.
he'd be at my house sometimes. And he'd be like, I want to go home just to go cut it. And I couldn't get, it's like, no, bro, no,
We do
that's
that.
not
That's
cool.
our nurturing nature. That's what we do. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I don't like it. Because he like to cuddle up, and I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm not really.
He's still little.
I know, and I have to look at that, like being a dad, like, he's still little. He's still a kid. He's still only 9. So, whatever. You gotta still be tough sometimes. So, you won't believe this is a segment that I do on the show. And it's something you saw, something might have happened to you, something you might have read. That's just like, what the hell is going on here? So I live like by the gas station, so it's like walk a little bit through my apartments, cross the street, go down a little bit. So something's always going on. So I go to the gas station and the ambulance pulls up. Nobody laying down, no car accident, nothing. Okay, go in, I get my stuff, I come out, and they talking to a dude. He's standing up, like, yeah, I just had a pint of something to drink, and I'm like, y'all, you got the fire department and the ambulance here for you drinking a pint? Like, just a random, I don't even know what day. It was a random day, middle of the day. Like, I don't know why I saw this, but that's something that you just wouldn't believe. Like, he going to the hospital because he was drunk.
Well, it happens. It happens.
Maybe he knew it was gonna be cold and he needed to go in. I don't know. But yeah, do you have any? You won't believe this moments.
Oh man. Well, I guess I would say my you won't believe this moment is that I became an author. I never liked to write in school. I never liked to read in school. I mean, I guess I was good at it, but I didn't like it. So I never thought, I didn't even think a year ago that I would have been an author. But one day I was just like, I want to do something different. So I was like, I want to do something different. I want to do something that the community that I came from, it was like unheard of. You know what I mean? I didn't know anybody from my neighborhood that would even consider me an author. So that was a wow for me to actually sit and take that time, especially as busy as I am, sit and take that time and go through that motion. And everything was self done. So it was self wrote, self edited, which is, we'll be the judge of that when people start reading it. Self published, I self published it through Amazon. So that's a wow moment. That was like, I can't believe that. Like, I can't believe I did that. And I did that. So
I love it. I had another guest. She had you won't believe this, but it was about something she accomplished. I don't think a lot of people know because I had a book come out. I'm a co-author in a book, and yeah, you won't believe this because listen, school didn't like it, reading didn't do it.
right.
Like I was really in English in 10th grade. I was in English in night school and regular school, so I'm just. And it's when I started speaking. A guy, he was like, "Yeah, you want to be a part of this book? Everybody has their own chapter telling their story." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And it was like, "Wow, I'm really an author." Like I be forgetting sometimes when people say that because it was just a project. But I do want to come out with a book. I want to come out with several books. I just don't like write. Like I like to write, but I don't like sitting there and having to think like a process of point A, B, C, D. I can't do it.
You have to have a certain level of patience to do that. Like,
because I think I got a couple chapters. I think I got chapter up to about chapter 2. I actually wrote some skits. I used to live in Hallville, and yeah, you won't believe this moments happened every day. So I wrote like a cartoon. So I know how to write. I just don't like it. Yeah. But to your book, you got your book, right?
I do. There's a nice little copy of it.
Live in the moment. 7 keys to ignite your passion, live your purpose, and chase your dreams. Brandy Nicole. I love it. Let's read the top. In life, we make choices, learn, and live with them unapologetically. I love that part. I'm unapologetic. I'm Eric. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care if you like me, if you don't. Everybody ain't like Jesus, so everybody ain't gonna like me. So I love that part. So process book, give me two like big adversities or two moments where or an adversity or a moment where you was like, man, I'm good. I don't need to write this. I'm already get life good. I'm like, how did that go?
Yeah. I quit throughout this process probably 10 times. Um, I just was like, I was over it. It was taking too long. I like to get things done. I got to move quick. I got to move fast. I'm a travel planner. I'm an event planner. I'm a coach. Like, I don't have a lot of time to just sit. So I had to sit with this process, So this was a challenge for me because it had me sitting down. So I was long nights at my desk, just thinking, praying, trying to figure it out. What's the next word? So oftentimes I'll find myself saying the same thing over and over and over. So I got to start over. I'm like, I just said that in chapter one. Now I'm saying it again in chapter four, right? So I'm like, I quit. I just don't want to do it. So I kept giving up. I would stop. I get to it. I get to it. I have a mentor and a coach myself, and she's like, look, we got to get this done. So she's pushing me. Even the biggest leaders have somebody that they got to look up to, right? Everybody has somebody to lean on. So during this process, I had her to lean on, and I'm just like, but I don't know what else to say. Like I don't have the words to make it a long enough story. So that's why I kept going back and forth. I kept saying it just needs to be like an ebook, or it just needs to be like a journal, or and I ended up with 162 pages. So obviously I had a lot to say. But during that time, I didn't think so because I just kept getting stuck. And oftentimes in life, that's how we are. We get stuck, so we want to quit. And I was like, I got to challenge myself to not quit. I want to finish this project. So I quit. That was a lot of adversity that I faced. I quit a couple of times, and then the biggest issue, and I'm transparent about it, I told Facebook about it. The first 13 copies had errors in it. So I released it because I was like, I'm done with it. I don't care. It's just going out. It's self-published. People will understand. But you can't think like that. Like, I was like, I want it to be perfect, but nobody's perfect. You a self-made author or whatever you want to call it, and you putting it out, you putting something out there that's genuine from the heart, just from what you've learned, you putting it out to people to teach them, at a small price. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just put it out. I finished the book, I put it out. I put it out. A couple of my friends bought it, and it was like, page this has this, page this has that, and I had errors in the book after 13 people bought it. So you would have thought that would have made me like, you know what? Let's just unpublish it. Let's take it down. I could have felt like I wasn't worthy to be an author, but I didn't. I didn't let that stop me. I'm like, well, you know what? 13 people got the first copy of a unscripted book or whatever you want to call it, had errors in it. That just showed that I was human. I was human. I made a mistake, and guess what? I'm still an author. So I went back again and fixed the book. Had to go back through it, fix it, get it republished and all of that kind of stuff. And then I put the book back out, and the final product was fine. But you're gonna come across those. Nobody's perfect. I don't care if you're writing a book. I don't care if you're writing a news article. Whatever it is, you're gonna make mistakes. And I figured that out. Like I made a mistake, and people caught it. So the table of contents was off, and it was a couple of spelling errors, but it happens. I know I've read books where, I mean, even the most prominent authors, you find a mistake, or you look at something that's not formatted correctly. But I was like literally beating myself up. I'm calling the people all around, like, y'all, there's an error in the book. I'm so sorry. I'm like, want to refund them, and they like, you're not refunding me. I'm proud of this. Like this is something to be proud of. I'm not even 40 years old, and I wrote a book, and I'm gonna keep that pride. So yeah, I'm human. And the first 13 books got an error in them, and guess what? They still loved it.
I love it because after the first one, somebody would have quit. You had 13 times where you had to bump your head and say, okay, I'm gonna keep going and keep going. I love that because in what you said earlier, you didn't like to read. I mean, you don't like to read, you didn't like to write, but you knew it was something about this book that you had to finish.
Right.
It wasn't something that you necessarily had to do for you. It was more for somebody else that's going to read your book. So tell us a little bit about the book. You don't go all into details, but what is the book about? And when someone finishes the book, what will they get from it?
So I give you steps, right? So a lot of people they don't know what their purpose is in life, right? We trying to figure it out. You may be 30, you may be 40, you still trying to figure out life. So I feel like the book gives you some type of purpose to look forward to. You may not know when you start the book, right? So I give them 7 keys: finding your passion, figuring out a side hustle, preparing yourself for that hustle, who's your competition, defining your goals, creating milestones, excuse me, and then selling. So it's partly about defining your purpose, figuring that out. Whatever you're passionate about, turning that into a profit. And then it's partly about figuring out those side hustles and does it make sense to sell that? Because we know we live in a day and age where everybody's doing almost the same thing. Or there is something that's trending, there's fads, there's, all this stuff on Facebook that people are doing. And so everybody thinks they can do it, and that's okay if you're passionate about it. So I'm just putting you on on a path to self discovery, figuring out who you are, who am I, and how can I make this work for me. So I think once you read the book, even if you weren't motivated at all, and there are a lot of people who are not readers, but maybe you're just stuck. Once you read the book, you're going to leave some type of motivation, some type of definition to say, you know what, I think I kind of have a little bit of figuring out my path. I know which way I want to go now. Because oftentimes we'll start stuff and we'll stop. We'll start stuff and we'll stop. But if you're passionate about it, then you can live a purposeful life with doing that and making money off of it too.
I, I love it. I love it because that's one thing with me. I term passion. Well, I'm working on the profit part, but I understand. I like to talk, but I like to help people. I like to ask questions. I like to ask the quote unquote dumb questions, like for people that are scared to ask a question or ask it a certain way. And I've been able to go speak like all over Indiana or Indianapolis, been able to have a podcast, talk to people from all over the world, out the country, in the country, just off of a passion of wanting to talk to people. And it's not easy. It's like it's not just sitting down and hitting record and that's it. Like when I get done with this, I have to go edit. I have to make sure it's ready for tomorrow because I didn't have an episode because I was sick. And I've wanted to stop plenty of times. It's like, but if I start this right now and my child is going into college, my other child is in fourth grade, they're watching, they gonna stop. So it's like no matter how ugly it get, no matter whatever is going on, you got to keep going because somebody else is watching you. Right. It might not be your kids, it might be your friend that don't say nothing, that's watching what you're doing, and they like, oh, I see, oh, okay, maybe I need to get my life together because you got your life together, and that's where you turn that passion. Everybody be like, oh, I don't know. Yes, you do. Everybody has a passion for something that's positive that can turn into a profit. They just scared. They scared because I ask people that I'm probably a random person that be like, "What's your passion? What's your purpose?" Like, what? Yeah. You don't know. You ain't thought about it. Like, okay, what you waiting on? Because these jobs that's out here, robots gonna be taking over, and you ain't gonna have nothing to do. You're gonna have something for yourself. So I love that you got the steps, and then that people can have something that tangible to take away from it and be motivated to go do what they need to because a lot of times people are just existing and not living because they going to work somebody else's dream. So, what's something about your life that the listeners wouldn't know about either your life or your work about you?
Mm. Something they wouldn't know?
Yep.
Because I'm very public. Something they wouldn't know. Ooh. Well, I would say, and I kind of made a post about this on Facebook not long ago, I think a couple of days ago. But I do a lot for the community that I don't share. Um, and I finally shared it because we went into a new year and all that. You know how we kind of get in that like new year, new me, and all of this kind of stuff. But I kind of went into just sharing like you don't always have to show what you're doing. I have a huge heart. I'm not perfect by any means, but I will literally give the person the clothes off my back, and I know that's a cliche, but that's truly. So I was telling people on Facebook the other day, and it wasn't, I said, I started my post with, it's not to gloat, it's not to brag, it's not to boast, but it's just to show people do things. If you're really doing it and you're passionate about it and you're doing it out the kindness of your heart, you don't ever have to show it. I gave away over $20,000 worth of free events this year. I've mentored several people. I've coached several people and didn't charge them a dime. So a lot of people would think just because you see all of my accolades or you see all that I'm doing, you would probably think, oh, she's getting money. She's getting money. She's getting money. I do a lot for free. I do a lot for free, more than most people would think. Because at the end of the day, I do come off like I'm about my money, right? But I have a big heart. So, and I know where my blessings come from. So I do a lot in the community that I just don't even talk about. I don't share, and I do a lot of content, but there are just some things that I just don't. It doesn't ever have to hit the internet. So I think that that would be something that people don't know that because I do, when you post a lot or you have a large following, they think they know your life. They think they know everything about you. So I can post a lot, but you still wouldn't know the half of what I'm doing behind closed doors. So I get my joy and my gratification off that. I was able to give a little boy a birthday party this year who had never had one, and he was turning 8. So those are the things that I look forward to. Those are the things that I do. And I like to call it, sometimes it's just off camera. You may not never know it. So some stuff you will know, but there's a lot of things that I do off camera that you just won't ever know. And I like it that way.
I love it because what you said is uh, you gave a lot away for free. People don't understand when you are in business and you're doing stuff. You're gonna do stuff for free because that's who you are as a person, and your blessings come from being a servant to other people. That's awesome to be able to give somebody a birthday and they ain't had one at 8. That sounds just crazy just hearing
Right.
that. Like, dang. But then, times is harder, whatever the case may be, but you were able to do that. And he'll probably remember that for the rest of his life.
Right.
Like, man, that lady, I don't remember her name, but she threw that party for me man, that was the best party I ever had. And that's the stuff that makes us smile behind the cameras. Because I do a lot of stuff that people would never know, that I don't brag about, because it's not about it. It's just me. I give you, I don't, okay, maybe, I don't know about the shirt off my back. I could share some food.
I've done that before.
Yeah, I will, more so with a child than an adult. But I will be that type of person to give whatever I got, because I heard something not too long ago. It's like, what you want, you have to give. And it's like, if somebody asks you for help, you can't. I mean, you can say no, but you gotta think about it. Dang, when I just ask them, didn't I just ask somebody for help last month? Okay, let me help this person because somebody did help me last month. So you just gotta be the best version of yourself off camera.
Okay.
Because
But you also have to help without any intent of expectation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just because I'm helping all of these people, you can't expect that somebody is going to do the same for you, because oftentimes it doesn't happen. And growing up, I had to learn it the hard way that everybody's not going to be you. Everybody's not going to have the same expectation as you. So you have to, if you're going to help, it just has to be at the kindness of your heart, like strictly. Because other than that, you'll get disappointed. Because nobody's going to do exactly what you're doing, and you can't expect that.
You can't. Like, that is a lesson I think is one of the hardest lessons as an adult. Because as a kid, you go through life or whatever, and you got your friends, everybody kind of think the same and act and all that, but then you become an adult, you be like, man, I remember I did such and such for such. Dang, they ain't do that. I just asked them, and you can't. Everybody don't think like you. Yeah. And when you realize that, it's less stress on you. It's less like disappointment, because you can't expect people to do what you're gonna do, because everybody's not you. You can't expect people to have. You be like, why would they do that? Who knows? That's them. They might ask the same thing about something else with you. But I love that. That's a lesson that everybody has to learn, and it's probably one of the hardest lessons to learn, because you think like everybody, like, it's common sense. You don't think like, oh no, and it don't work out that way. So let's see. What are 3 tips that when someone hears this, oh wait, tell us about the launch, because it's going to come out on Wednesday, so I can clip it up and it'll be able to, you can tell people about it. So tell people about your launch before we go into the tips.
Yes. So book launch and signing is this coming Friday. It's at 7 p.m. It's at my event center. It's at the Van Moment event. So I turn everything into a party. So it's going to be a party. Everybody was supposed to hopefully order their copy off of Amazon, because it's been on Amazon for almost 30 days now. So get your copy off of Amazon, bring it to the signing. I'm going to be, signing them. We're going to have food. We're going to have DJ. We're going to have picture booths. Like, it's a full-blown party. So everybody knows everything I do. I turn it into a party. But yeah, so I'll have some limited copies on hand Friday, but for the most part, you just bring your book that you've already purchased, and I'll be autographing those. So I'm excited. But
That's
yes,
dope.
this coming Friday.
That's one of the dopest things is to autograph something you've done. Like I remember people was like, "Can I get the autograph in there?" And I'm like, "Man, that is like the dopest thing to do." Like as a person to be like, somebody come up, be like, "Can I get your autograph?" I kind of made it. I'm somebody, especially if you came from nothing or whatever the case is. That's a big thing. And you know what? So you're published. And when I heard that before, somebody was like, "Yeah, I'm published." What the hell does published mean? It means you're author, and it just sounds a little more, sexier than saying I'm author. I'm published because I don't know too many published people I grew up with. But go ahead. Yeah, and that's crazy. So give us 3 tips of how to live in the moment. When someone hears this, they can take it and they can move the needle in their life.
Woo. So I truly do live by that. When I came up with the name for my event center, everybody was like, living in the moment. I'm like, so when I'm thinking, when I'm travel planning, when I'm doing that for my customers, I don't want you to have to do anything. So I'm taking that from A to Z. I'm getting your flights, I'm getting your transportation, I'm booking your activities, your dinners, your excursions, everything from A to Z. So I want you to live in the moment when you hit that beach. I don't want you to have to pull out a card. I don't want you to have to pull out an ID. I want everything done from you. So that's living in the moment to me, where it's done, you paid for it, you signed on the dotted line, and you're just there living. You're doing what it is that you want to do without any type of expectations. When it comes to my wedding and event planning, I want the people to tell me their goals, tell me their dreams, and I'm gonna make them happen. And I can do that. Like I tell people a lot, I do it in my sleep because I do. I think in my sleep about what my day is looking like tomorrow and how many weddings I got to do and how many travel plans I have to do. But my people, when they walk in living in the moment, they know that I'm going to take all the stress away. Right. So a lot of people are like, man, you do so much. How you don't be stressed out or how you just look like you just, balance it all because I do. Because I take that stress from my customers and I want them to live in that moment. So when it comes to finding your purpose, when it comes to fulfilling that passion, like what am I going to do next? How can I make money? How can I start a business? Live in the moment and think about today because we don't know where tomorrow is going to bring us. And that's why my point earlier, where I'm like, I got to just plan out the day because I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. I may have something on my calendar, but it can change. So if you're living in the moment, you know what's about to happen. You're right here in this moment. You're grateful for what's happening right now. You're grateful for what you have right now, and that's easy to do because I'm just right here in the moment. I don't have to think about anything else. So and even with the book, live in the moment. So when you read this book, take it in, read it. Don't worry about, oh, well, what's the next chapter going to be? Read the chapter that you're reading, right? Live in that moment while you're reading it. Take in, and that's what the hints of the lines are for, because I want you to be able to write. Once you get done reading that chapter, write. I ask self-reflection questions in this book. I'm asking what you thought, what's the goal is for whatever that chapter is. So you get to actually write in the book while you're reading it. So that's living in the moment, like just not thinking about tomorrow, thinking about right now and how we can be grateful in this moment with whatever that is.
I love it. That makes me sit there and think that sometimes I'm supposed to read it every day. I think it's Matthew 18. I think it's something. It says, it's a verse before that, but it says, "Live for today and don't worry about tomorrow's worries." Yeah. And when you live in today, it's like you got 24 hours to do whatever you need to do in that 24 hours. And if you don't get it done, write what you didn't get done and finish it the next 24 hours. Because if you worried about tomorrow, that took a lot of stress off me and stopped worrying about tomorrow. Do what I need to do for today, even if I'm doing something for tomorrow, next week, whatever the case. I'm doing it now because if you don't, it's like if you got an idea, you could be in the bed, idea didn't pop, you didn't thought everything through. Like, oh, I'm gonna write it when I get up. It went away because you wasn't living in that moment. There's been times where I literally have got up, grabbed my phone, and started typing in my notes, or got up and actually went and wrote it down. Because if I don't, I forget it. So you gotta stay in the moment because if you don't, that thought, the idea, that dream, that you didn't write down, that you didn't do, going to set you back a few years. So, everybody, come on, ask them for a quote, an underdog quote. It could be your quote, it could be something you read, something you live by, but I need a quote.
Well, you already have one. In life, we make choices, learn, and live with them unapologetically by Brandy Nicole. And that's true. I mean, we're going to make choices that may be wrong, right, or indifferent, but you're gonna learn from it. Whichever way, you're gonna learn from it. So live with that. Whatever decision you make, whatever choice you make, regardless if it's right or wrong, just live with it and learn from it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I love it, but you cheated.
I did. I already had it.
Yeah, yeah, because I like to, because people be like, yeah, oh, this is a good interview, this, and that. A quote? What? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to throw that in.
That's why you already gotta have one.
Yeah.
If you living by one, you got one.
Yep. Great talking to you. I love what you do because you made me think of travel agents different. They might not be like you, but just the process of what they do or what you see, it makes me think of them different. And then just what you do as the event center and being able to help in the community and help other people, and then just the stuff that you do. Applaud you for that. I don't like most people. I ain't gonna say most. All people, they do something in life that inspires or it helps somebody else to be able to live a better life. So I applaud all my guests. I want to give them their flowers while they're on the show, and tell everyone how they can reach you on social media.
Okay. So for travel, they can find me at Love for Traveling on Facebook and Instagram. For the event center, you can find me at Living in the Moment Events on Facebook and Instagram. For business coaching, speaking engagement, the book, you can find me at Brandy Nicole on Instagram, Brandy Nicole on Facebook, and IamBrandyNicole.com for the website. And then the two businesses, the websites are lovefortraveling.com, livinginthemomentevents.com.
Question: How there was no other I am Brandy Nicole? That's like, even though that name is not.
It's very common.
Very common. So nobody else had that?
They did. I think mine is I am Brandy Nicole underscore.
Oh, okay. So you had to change it a little bit.
I had to change it a little bit. Yeah. It's a very common name.
I was just.
But they're not me.
Yeah, because it's my name, Eric Jones.
Right.
I'm sure there's a million of them. Ain't name one of them like me. So before we get out of here, give us. Oh wait. Let me see. I be trying to stick with my paper. Before you give us our closing, if you're listening, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Underdog Talk. Underdog is spelled UNDDAWG. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Underdog Talk. Just put in Underdog Talk and you'll find me. Just put that in Google and you'll find me. Share this with somebody. Tell somebody about it. You can always, throw a donation to the brother PayPal. You can. The merch is coming this year. I slacked last year of having the merch. I have my own merch, but I'm gonna have merch to sell. So be looking out for that, and be looking out for a basketball league here in Indianapolis for the youth, where it's in the works. I don't want to say it because you don't want to tell everybody, and then they hear it, and then it don't happen. Something might not happen. But we're gonna start a league, and it's gonna be something special. Hopefully, we can do it around the time of All-Star Weekend, because it really would be special. So, tell everybody something that they can take home with on the ride home.
Well, I would just say, do anything that makes you happy. Do what you want to do. You got one life to live. You got to live it. And I always tell people you got to live in the moment while living it. So don't think about how old you are. Don't think about what's been done, what somebody else is doing. You have to do what's best for you and whatever that looks like. Even with all that I do, I still want more. I'm still not done. God isn't done with me yet. I think of something new every day, and my husband looks at me like I'm crazy. So you just have to keep going, keep striving for excellence. Keep striving to be the best version of yourself that you can be, because nobody can ever take that away from you. So when I think about what I've accomplished in such a short amount of time, because 6 years of entrepreneurship isn't that long. Like, I have a long way to go. and I still have a lot that I haven't done, that I haven't touched. I'm just now touching the surface, right? And some look at me like, man, you're doing everything because you're an inspiration to others. So you never know what just one thing that you say, how it can help somebody else. I get that oftentimes. A lot of people say, everything you're doing, you just got, you just got me going. You got me wanting to do more. That's the gratification that I get out of life because you should want to do more. What will you be remembered as? You know what I mean? That's what people need to think about. What am I going to leave this earth and somebody's going to remember me as? So that's what I think about when I'm going, when I'm doing, when I'm helping. I'm thinking about I want them to remember me as the girl who just wouldn't stop. The girl just who wanted to help everybody with whatever endeavor that may be. So truly live in the moment and do whatever it is that you set out to do, no matter who tries to take that from you because they can't. And nobody can hold you back but you.
I love it. I love it. I'm inspired right now just because I was about to say, I want to say shout out to your husband because I'm sure dealing with an entrepreneur, somebody that's on the go, like that's hard as hell. I know it is because I know whoever got to deal with me is going to be hard for them. But shout out to all the spouses of entrepreneurs out there because that's you're an entrepreneur too because you got to help with projects and all that. But I love what you just said. Um, keep being great. Tune in next week. I don't like sitting in that chair.